Welcome back to another episode of the Cepheid Variable Frontier. I am Chris, your handler, referee, person in charge. And we're going to thank the fine folks at Patreon before we hop into this episode. They are Taylor, Drowrin, Miles, Randy, Yam, Colby, Thomas, Randy G, Laszlo, Hovo, Hovo, Jeremy, Ben, Garth, Tyler, Clorpdonk, Nelson, Cody, Hygienic, Ty, Eldrick Owl, Derek, and Daddy of the Arcane Lore. Hey, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. If you'd like to become a part of this Patreon, check out the show notes. There's a link there. There's also a link to buy, starts without number, or get the free version. Look at that. All right. This episode is going to be a little different because it's just going to be me hanging out, talking to you, because there's a very cool thing within the Stars Without Number rules, and I thought it'd be fun to do an episode based on it. And really, it's just me, and that is factions. So there's a whole section dedicated in this book to factions, and they have an actual mechanical process, and they have turns, they can buy assets, and all that sort of stuff. And I thought it'd be interesting to do that with the factions that we've created in this world, and kind of go through the steps, and then also show you, maybe give you a little bit behind the scenes of what's going on with these different groups. So if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's hop right into this. For those interested in how factions work, you can start on page 210 of the core rulebook of Stars Without Number, and that will go through and kind of give you the definitions of what the factions are, how to use them, and starting on page 212, we really get into the nitty-gritty here of what the factions, what they have, how to build one, all that kind of stuff. So defining a faction, they're going to have hit points. Obviously, this measures their cohesiveness, their morale. It's not necessarily like their actual health. It's just more about their how strong of a unit they are, how strong the faction is. They're going to have a force rating, which measures their ability to inflict violence, have soldiers, that kind of stuff. Kind of just physical things. You're going to have a cunning rating, which is all about espionage, how stealthy they are, how sneaky they are, how good they are at infiltrating things. Then they're going to have a wealth rating, which is, how wealthy is it? How rich is this faction? How are they able to throw their money around to get to what they want? You're also going to have some creds, which you can use to spend on various things, like assets, which we'll get into later. And then lastly, you'll get experience points. Each faction will gain experience points as it goes through. There is some homeworld stuff if you want to add it in there. We're not going to worry about that in our show or this right now because we're really tied to this planet. And then tags, if there's any special traits that we want to tie to our factions, we can tie them here. But since we built our factions outside of this, I'm not really going to worry about that as much. So yeah, let's kind of dive into this. What are our factions? It's a great question. So the factions that we have are the evolutionary. These are the folks who, I think we kind of even refer to them as like the higher evolutionary, but evolutionary, they are these fanatical cult of people who believe that the virus in our world is a gift from God to make humanity better. And that anybody trying to stand in the way of that is stopping the progress of humanity. Next, we're going to have the JPEG. It's the Jump Gate Protectorate. They are kind of like the Minutemen in Fallout 4. They're there to protect jump gates. We haven't really messed with them a whole lot, but we will talk about them in this session. Next, we have Greg. Everyone knows Greg. Everybody loves Greg. It's just a simple fact they are the local terraforming guild, and they're here on this planet, and they're a big part of the world because worlds need terraforming. People need places to live, and that's what Greg does. We have the Tech Council. They are in charge of all technological advances within the universe that we've created, and they're pretty big hitters. Next up, we have Blackwing, who is our kind of shadow cabal. They are represented on the planet Gilgax that we're playing on as the Talon Watch group. But Blackwing is a very large, kind of mercenary-esque group that we've created. And then lastly, and definitely leastly, is the Humanity First movement, which we've created as a fascist, I don't want to say, but they're not really racist, but a bigoted group of individuals who only care about the advancements of humanity, and they don't want to see the spread of the infection, and they are very much rooted in the simple-mindedness of current political spectrums that we have in our world. So, yeah, those are our factions. So we got 6 there. And when I go into the faction turns, I'm supposed to roll a dice higher than the one I have, which doesn't really work here because that would mean 7. So I might roll a d6, and that's just going to pick who we go with. If we had 7, we roll a d8, but we have a d6, so we're going to roll that bad boy, and we'll go there when we get there. I'm going to give you their stats right now, and we'll go from there. So the evolutionary, I've assigned a hit point total of 15. They're not super large. There's not a ton of them. So I felt 15 in the book. It says that's kind of like on the smaller end. We're going to go with that. Their force rating, I gave a 2. Their cunning rating, I gave a 2. And their wealth rating, I gave a 1. These guys are not very large. They don't have a lot of financial backing. They're just mainly like cultish fanatic people. So I didn't want to give them too much stuff. Next up, we have the JPEG. I'm going to think that they're a larger faction within the world that we play in. So I give them 29 hit points, which is like the in-between, right? They're like the middle ground. And I gave them a force rating of 2. I gave them a cunning rating of 2 and a wealth rating of 3. Because I feel like there is an invested nature to certain jump gates to protect them. But I also think not a lot of people are out there wanting to get this job. So that's why their force and their cunning rating are pretty low. They don't have a whole lot of support, but they do have those on the near the jump gates are there for them. Greg is next. Greg has hit points of 49, which is like the top tier of what you can get. Greg has a force rating of 6. They have a lot of men. They can do certain things. If they need to get physical, they can. They have a larger labor force to do that. And we also go to their cunning rating of 5 and their wealth rating of 7. I gave the cunning rating because they're a larger business. They probably have some shady stuff they can do, but they're also tied to the law. And I gave a 7 for their wealth because they are a large corporation. They have a lot of funds. They have a lot of liquid assets that they could probably tie into certain things. I think if I would change anything, I think I might bump their force rating down, but I'm going to keep it there for the get-go. We'll see how it goes as we continue to play. My first time doing this, so go easy on me. Next up, we have the Tech Council. I also put them as a 49 because they are a very large corporation, large organization. A 7 for their force rating because I feel like they run a lot of stuff. They have a lot of people on their side. They deal with everything tech-related, weaponry, machinery, tanks, bioweapons. They have their hands in it in this world, so I felt that was Their cunning and their cunning's a 7, and their wealth rating is an 8. This is probably the biggest corporation we have out there. They are into everything. They are the advancement. They are the Procter & Gamble of our world kind of sort. So they have their ties to everything. Blackwing in our world, I'm specifically focusing on Talon Watch here. So I gave them a 29. They're a mid-level range of this. I gave them a force rating of 6. Felt they're kind of in the middle. They are definitely a mercenary group. They have a lot of that machinery. They have a lot of guns. They have a lot of force to use. And that kind of goes with their cunning rating of 8. These are extremely well-oiled machine. They know what they're doing. They can manipulate. They're built to infiltrate. That's why I gave them such a high cunning rating. And I gave them a 7 for their wealth rating because they are backed by Blackwing, and I figured they would have a lot of money at their disposal. Lastly, and like I said, leastly, humanity first. Give them a 15 for their hit points. They're a low level. There's probably a decent amount of them, but not enough to really matter. Their force rating's 3. I felt that felt right. There's probably more of them than the evolutionary and the JPEG, but they're still not as strong as the others. I give them a cunning rating of 4 because I feel like there probably would be some, definitely some higher level espionage going in there, but not as much as the others. Like, they're not to that level yet. And wealth rating, I gave 1. They don't have a lot of stuff. They're just kind of cobbling everything together. And so, yeah. So those are our factions that we've created in here. I have some assets. I haven't bought some with them, but I kind of have them floating around in my head for right now. And we'll go into faction turns soon. But I kind of want to give you guys just a general overview, I guess would be the proper term, of what's going on in the background of our story currently. Because not all it's going to be up front, and not all it's going to be relevant to what's going on, but I want to at least acknowledge that, hey, I have a bigger plot boiling in the background. It's just how much the guys are going to interact with it. So currently, there are 2 major things happening in the COP. That's kind of the larger organization that runs all of the planets. The non-frontier planets. They're kind of collective. Humanity First believes that the COP government that rules the planets is intentionally spreading this virus to other planets to thin the population and to, no one really has anything past that reason. They're using this to infect people, and they're going to turn on a switch, and they're going to make these people into robots and enslaved by the COP. It's everything that you've heard from the QAnon and whatnot in our world. And so they are actively working on bombing COP sites. This ties into the JPEG, because the folks in the Humanity First are actively trying to bomb warp gates and these jump gates to stop the spread of the virus. This is something that they are actively working on. It is something that ties into Santander's background with the bombing that happened that his ex-wife did. She was part of a group doing these bombings. And in my eyes, there is a group of Humanity First on the planet Gilgax that are trying to find him. They were told that he landed there, and they are trying to seek him out to recruit him to make another bomb for them. On the flip side of this, there's obviously COP members, and this is alluded to one of the earlier episodes at the end, who are actively tracking where Santander went, so that they can keep an eye on him, because they want to question him to did he really have anything to do with this bombing? Because it went off, they couldn't find him, kind of suspicious, and so there were actually people on the ship that were posing as, general people aboard to catch and follow his movements. And they're still actively trying to find his movements at this point in our story. To go to what is the group is currently embroiled in. Greg purchased a plot of land from the Tech Council that the group decided that they were going to do the group was assigned to. They didn't decide to. They were assigned to do the demolition work on. This work was tied to the Tech Council, who, for all intents and purposes, had a legit reason to be there. There was a mining operation doing all this stuff, but there was a hidden floor underneath there that the Tech Council built and funded that was monitored by Talon Watch. And so when the well ran dry, they moved all the equipment out, and Talon Watch was essentially hired to clean the site up. And they didn't. And so the group found that site, reported that site to Greg, who then went to the higher-ups They contacted the Tech Council, who they purchased the land from. The Tech Council said, yeah, not 100% sure. Let's find out. Now, they call Talon Watch and say, hey, what the fuck is going on, guys? You were supposed to clean this up, and now I'm being told it's not. Go fix this shit. They took on the guise of members of Greg coming out to do a research. They confirmed everything was down there. They knew they had to come back. They had to clean the site, which involved killing everybody there that saw this, because they can't let this get out. Which leads us to the current problem that our PCs are facing, that they are on the run. They're going to become mercenaries because they have to earn money somehow to figure out who's after them and how are they going to go about their lives now when a shadowy organization is trying to kill you. So that is where we stand at this time of recording. Obviously, we recorded a little bit past this. I have some other things that have happened, but I don't want to spoil anything right now as I record this. And there will be another one of these, probably the same thing. I'm thinking around episode 20, 21, I'll release one. Just do another set of actions. So, let's get into faction actions. When a faction has its turn, it can attack, just like you would in any other game. There are certain rules to attacking. We'll go over that if I choose to do that. They can buy assets, get new equipment, get another kill squad if they need them, buy a car. They can change homeworlds. They can expand their influence in an area. They could refit an asset they have. They can repair an asset or a faction. They can sell an asset. They can seize a planet if they need to. And they can use an asset's ability. So these are all things that can be done, basically actions that these factions have. So they will get credits or points to spend as a buying and using assets. Assets can only be purchased on any world with a base influence and sufficient tech level to support their creation. In a few cases, however, acquiring an asset requires more than just fast creds and a planet. So that's kind of how it goes. Each planet's going to have goals that are set here. Each faction will have goals that are kind of set out here. And yeah, it kind of goes into different assets in the book, like what the physical aspects are. We can have cunning aspects, so that's going to go through blackmail, such and such, such and such. There's force assets, how they're going to go about doing that, like heavy shock troopers and stuff like that. And then there's wealth assets to go into how they're going to, these are different assets they can buy to do things. Faction tags we can tie to them, whether they're fanatical, colonists. They just going to help flavor your factions and how you want to do that if you're using the book. So right now, we're going to hop into some faction action, as we stated at the top, now that we've kind of explained everything. So I need to decide the ability and how we're going to go about this of each, basically how they're going to go about what they're going to do. All right. So each faction starts their turn and gets their fat creds up, which is essentially they're going to get their wealth payments. So this basically they get their income for the turn, and that's going to be the half its wealth plus a quarter of its total force and cunning rounded down. So let's just go with the JPEG, for instance. They are going to have 3. Half of that is 1.5. And then a quarter of 4 is 1. So we're just going to say they have 2 credits there. Next up, we're going to do our good friends over at the Evolutionary. They're going to have a wealth rating of 1. They're going to have a cunning and force rating of 4 total. A quarter of that is 1. So they're going to have 2 as well. Greg is going to end up having 7 fat credits. The Tech Council, Blackwing are each going to have 9. And Humanity First is going to have 2 as well. So that's kind of how everything's working out here with the math. So I got to roll now. Roll a d6, and we're going to see which faction decides to go first. Number 1, the Evolutionary is up. So let's take a look at what the Evolutionary can do. I don't see them attacking anybody right now. That's their ultimate plan, is to do that, but right now they're not. We could have them buy an asset. I think that makes the most experience right now. I also like the idea of maybe them trying to expand their influence on this planet. So I think I'm going to pick that as their action right here. So the faction is going to buy a base of influence asset on a planet in which they have at least one other asset. The faction then rolls a d10 plus cunning rating against similar rolls by every other faction on the planet. Any of the others that equal or beat the faction's roll may make a free immediate attack against the base of influence if they wish. Other assets present on the planet may defend against the attack as normal, and the base of influence cannot be used until the beginning of the faction's next turn. So here we go. I got a lot of rolling to do here, and I don't have any d10s currently in front of me, so I got to open up my little box here, grab some d10s out, and we're going to see how this goes. All right. I'm a little nervous of how this is going to go for the Evolutionary, but we're going to find out here with this roll. All right. I rolled a 6. They have currently a 6, which has to be beat by the other groups. So I'm going to empty up my dice tray here, because I put all my dice in the dice tray, because that's just how I roll. And I want to get that good dice roll for you all to hear. And when I roll this dice. So now each faction gets to, against the similar rolls by every other faction on the planet. So Jump Gate Protectorate is not on the planet. We don't need to worry about them. But the Greg, Tech Council, and everybody else is. So we're going to see how they do. So Greg goes first. They rolled a 11. Next is the Friends of the Tech Council. They rolled a 10. Talon Lodge rolled a 13. And Humanity First rolled even high. They rolled a 11 as well. So each one of these get to make a free attack action against the base of influence if they wish. I don't think any of them are going to at this time. Actually, I think Humanity First would, because they see them as a threat. So let's go over to the attack action here. So attacking the chief way of which factions assault the rivals' assets and organizational structures. A successful attack can damage or destroy an enemy asset, or even destroy its leadership and cohesion of an enemy faction. It's up to the GM or player to describe an action and its methods. So to launch an attack, the attacker selects one or more of their own assets and targets of a rival faction to target a rival faction with assets on the same world. Didn't do a very good job with that sentence. Let's start that over again. To launch an attack, the attacker selects one or more of their own assets and targets a rival faction with assets on the same world. One at a time, each attacking asset is matched against the defending asset chosen by the defender. Each attacking asset can attack only once per turn, though the defending can defend yada yada yada. Once matched, the attacker rolls a d10 and adds the relevant attribute to the asset. For example, the military unit's attack would add their faction's force rating. If they're going to go cunning, blah, 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 blah. The defender then rolls a d10 and adds another attribute that they want. So if the attack roll exceeds the defense rolls, the attack is a success. The defending asset suffers damage and is given to the attack line. And so, all right, here we go. So we are going to roll here for the attack from Humanity First. And I think they're going to do a straight up fucking force attack. So let's see how they do. They rolled a 8, 9, 10. They rolled an 11 on this attack. So the 11 is the so far the highest. And our friends here At the evolutionary, they're going to try to be cunning and keep this on the down low. They're going to try to hide from this. Let's see how they roll. They're going to have to roll basically a 9 or a 10 to beat that because they have a +2. Well, they rolled a 3, so they fail. So we see that the Humanity First is able to snuff out this evolutionary base and destroy anything happening before it has a chance to rise up. Next up, it's the JPEG. What are they going to do? I think that they are going to buy an asset. I think they know that Humanity First is in this area, and they want to stock up and buy some assets. So they only have 2 credits. So I think that they are going to try to buy some sort of force asset. So let's see what we got here. I think they're going to buy some security personnel. I think they're going to buy some more folks. They're going to send some people here, which costs 2. So they are going to spend this turn buying 2 amounts of credits, essentially, worth of units for them to bolster their ranks. Up next is the Tech Council. What are they going to do? Well, I think it makes sense for them to try to... I think that's a tough one. I think that they might try to repair an asset or faction. And so, that matters with them being damaged. So that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to what we got going on right now. I think they're going to try to expand their influence. They are going to rock and roll this. If you hear the fireworks in the background here, that's because it's the Super Bowl. And I'm assuming the Seahawks just scored. Just a heads up. You might pick up through the thing if they do. All right, let's roll and see what the Tech Council is able to pull here. With their roll, they got a 9. And I don't think anybody would really move against them. So I think they're going to be able to expand their influence. I think maybe they get some higher-ups in town. They start greasing some palms up in the Plateau City. It just makes the most sense to me as we kind of go through that. So, next up is Blackwing. And our good friends at Blackwing, a.k.a. Talonwatch, they have some things to do. They are going to, I'm trying to see what they would be. They're going to buy an asset as well. They're going to start spending some of these faction money, and they're going to start trying to find the players. That's their goal. They want informers. They want something along those lines, and I'm looking to see what they have the cost to spend on. They have a whopping 7 FAC creds to spend here. So they are going to spend partial there. Let's see here. They're going to go with some. Yeah, I think they're going to go with some informers. They're going to start looking through that. They're going to start trying to find people. They're going to start trying to look for this group. They've got people on the streets. They're trying to figure out where our players went, and they're going to spend their assets on that. Next up is Humanity First. I think they are also going to try to spread their influence here. They're going to try to set up a base of operations as they have been, and I think that's their plan. So let's see how they do with that. That's going to be a 12. That's a pretty good roll. The only ones I could see trying to stop them are the JPEG and the Evolutionary. So I'm going to roll for them to see. The Evolutionary is unable with a 7 to beat that. And JPEG is able just roll a 9. And they have a +2. So they're at an 11. So we see the influence of Humanity First start to grow in this small backwater community known as Gilgex. And they're expanding their way out. All right, time for round 2. I'm going to roll a d6 here again, see which one goes first, and we're going to start from there. 2. All right, JPEG starts this time. They spent their 2 last credits last time. Now they're going to get another 2 because it's the start of another faction turn. And I think they're going to do another thing. They're going to buy more assets, and they're just going to start stockpiling them. They're going to buy. This time, I think they're going to go with I like the idea of maybe doing a wealth asset. They're going to try to find somebody that can help them out here. They're going to look for local investments. which allows people to fund them kind of in the Gilgax area tied to that, the jump gate that leads into that area. So that's their plan. They're going to set up some meetings, try to get some financial backers, try to appeal to any of the traders in the large city of Plateau City and say, hey, we can help protect more material coming in here if you want us here, kind of thing. So I like that idea. Up next will be Greg. And Greg is going to, I think they're going to continue to expand their influence. So they're going to start, I don't know if they're going to set up a base, but I think they might just try to find some other spaces. And, there you go. You get to spend a purchase for 1 fat cred for every hit point the base has up to a maximum of the facts. So, nice. So we'll say last round, we'll say they spent 4. So there's 4 hit points there. There you got another 7 this time. So they'd have 10 total fat creds. So they're going to spend let's say they're going to spend all 10 and they're going to build up another base of influence. I don't see anybody attacking them because they're not really in it to fight anybody. So they're just going to get it, I'm going to say. Next up is the Tech Council. Now, these bad boys, they are going to, I think they're going to buy some more assets. I mean, they've got a lot here. They've got 9 fat creds. And so I think they're going to, more than anything, they want to know what's going on with Talon Watch. I don't think they're happy with what happened there. And so they're going to start trying to dive into them. They're going to start saving up some money. They didn't really spend a whole lot last time. So they're going to spend pretty much all of their money on going after Talon Watch, figuring out what happened there. So they're going to go and spend, they're going to save. They're going to save their credits so they can do the crack comms and start trying to hack into their comms and figure out what the fuck's going on there. So that's their turn right now. They're saving up some funds. That's going to bring us to Talon Watch themselves, who last time they basically they spent some money to go after, they spent 2 credits to go after and try to find what's going on with this group. Some informants on them. And so now they are going to put some money into some cunning assets again. So last time they did some informers. Now they are going to start looking maybe to do some blackmailing. I think that might make some more sense. So they're going to spend some 4 more credits to start getting that. They're buying some stuff there. Next up is Humanity First. They are going to basically, I think they're going to start trying to build up some forces here. They're going to start trying to recruit. They're going to purchase some assets for some militia units, which is 4. So that's their plan right now. They're going to start building that up. They're going to probably have to hold off till next round, but that's their plan. That's their initial focus. So that ends up, we got to go back to the top with the Evolutionary. They're up next. They are going to buy some assets. They are going to start buying some security personnel to help. They're going to start trying to train people to build stuff up. So they are going to spend their 2 credits to get some security personnel to help out around town. We go to round 3. I'm going to roll the dice here again. We're starting with the Black Wing Talon group this time. They are going to get a lot of credits. They get 9 credits every round. And so they're probably sitting on about 10 or 11 now. And so they are going to start looking at fun stuff here. I think that they are going to start... There's a lot of choices here that I'm trying to understand what I think they would do. They could go stealth. They could do covert shipping. They've got a party machine that they can start working with. They've got Vanguard cadres, tripwire cells. There's a whole lot of stuff here that they have. But I think most and foremost, they're probably going to spend it on some saboteurs again. They're going to start trying to go after these guys and sabotage wherever they can, investing in that kind of stuff to, keep it on the down low what they've got going on, but using others to do what they want. Humanity First is up next. They saved 2 last round, so they're going to get some militia units this round. They're going to buy that asset, so now they've got some militia units. The Evolutionary is going to spend the 2 and get more security personnel. They're trying to build it up there. They're trying to get stuff. So the JPEG, I feel like last round they secured some financial stuff. They've got another 2 to spend, and I think they're just going to get some security personnel as well. And Greg is going to, they got 7. I think they're going to basically I like the idea of buying another plot of land here for them to start building off of. So I'm going to use that as the venture capital. They find another spot. They're just going to keep this machine rolling. They're going to forget what happened here and just keep this train rolling, doing what they can. Tech Council is up next. They are going to look at all of this. They're going to start hiring some lawyers to cover their ass if they need them for any sort of a legal attack, because they might potentially get tied to this Talon Watch thing. They know there might be some potential blowback, and so they are going to cover all this. They're going to start covering CYA. So, yeah. So that is 3 rounds right now of what we've done for the factions. I am going to probably stop there for now. I'm going to do a couple more, but I really just wanted to show you how the factions worked, the ideas behind them, and I think you could even do this at the table with the players. I kind of like the idea of this, and it's something I've been really, really wanting to do a mothership game again. I even talked about doing a whole separate podcast of it, and I had the idea that the players would kind of similar to a game called Band of Blades. They would play as the leaders of this mercenaries group or whatever this company, and they would pick the mission to do and send the players off, or send the PCs off on the adventure, and then they would play the PCs on the adventure. So it would kind of help explain, if we got new people, why their characters were kind of more expendable. They would always still be there because they would be a leader, and then they would send out their characters into these dangerous situations. And so I think you could do something like that in this game and have each player pick a different faction and be the head of it and kind of go around the table, and they can pick what they want to do on top of everything else. And also the PCs could have a faction in this as well. Like this mercenary group we're building, they might get big enough and start building everything up, and they might have a seat at the table now. Once this mercenary group that our PCs have going, eventually they're going to have these things tied to them. And so maybe next time we're going to tie that to them and give them some roles and whatnot, and maybe get some feedback from the players. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it was interesting, and we'll be back next week with the level up and the continuation of our story. So yeah, thanks everybody. Bye.